Hello, everyone, and I'm happy to welcome here in our Zoom studio Gudrun Rogvadottir from Gudrun and Guðrun, Faroe Islands. Gudrun, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for letting me in.
And it's a great chance that we can actually talk because, yes, there is so much distance between us, but Zoom gives us this opportunity not only to talk to each other, to share our experience, but also today we will have a chance to have a peek inside the studio. And this is also something absolutely amazing. Thank you for that. I'd like to say that this talk is streamed on YouTube. There is translation available. So if you have any comments or questions, please send us here. We will be able to answer them in a while. But I think we will start with a short presentation, and Gudrun will speak a little bit about the brand Gudrun and Guðrun, and I'm going to share my screen. So you tell me what to do next.
Gudrun, we started 20 years ago already. And it was started by Gudrun Ludwig, designer, and me. If you just show the next one, you can see the both of us. Yeah, that was a funny one. We were supposed to make a photo shoot, and it's very, very difficult to make a photo shoot with two women because one of us always find that the other one looks better on the picture, so we can never agree on which picture to use. So we agreed on just using the one where we just gave up and just laughed at everything. We are based on the Faroe Islands, and we started 20 years ago. The reason for us to start the company was that we found it really being a pity that the Faroese wool was burned and the Faroese lambskins were destroyed. So that was like the starting point for actually establishing the company. I'm going to show you a small film just to give you the mood of the brand before I tell you a little bit more about the story. So yeah, please show that one. So if you just take the next one, I would like to tell you a little bit about when we talk about the origin and the inspiration. As I told you, we started the company because we really found it a pity that we didn't use the Faroese resources. When you come from a small country in the North Atlantic, if you imagine the Faroe Islands, it's just, if you're lucky enough to find it on a world map, it's just a small dot in the North Atlantic. So around us, like the ocean is deciding everything. The ocean is deciding if we come out of the country, come into the country. It decides the weather, and it also very much is in our mindset. I think the Faroese are as we are because we are this small dot in the North Atlantic. We do have very scarce resources on the Faroe Islands. We have two things. We have fish and we have sheep. So we always learned, were taught when we were kids, to take very good care of the resources, to use everything from the sheep, to use everything from the fish. And that's why it was really a wake-up call for us to see that the skins were destroyed and the lamb and the wool was burned. So if you take it into modern terms, it was a question of scarcity, especially a question of being sustainable. We didn't use those words at that time. Now they are very modern and very much used. But this was the starting point for us for starting the company, and I think that's really, really important. Also of how we work now, and it's a bit strange somehow that we have been working like this forever, but there's a lot of focus on some companies that have that maybe start now to turn the big tanker that had been working non-sustainable for many years. So if they use all the marketing budget on, for example, on the sustainability collection, the sustainable collection, the conscious collection, then you say, then the 99%, is that an unconscious collection or what? So I think it's a really interesting take to it. So we always want the sustainability not to be the icing of the cake, but the cake itself. It's really important to us. If you try to take the next one, because some things in the good old times, some things were just really obvious. It wasn't always a luxury for the few, for the chosen ones. Like for centuries, we have been wearing. It was a norm all over the world to wear good wool, to wear silk, to wear good cotton, but somewhere along the way, it's like quantity to go over from quality. And what we are really trying to do is to roll time back, to try to treasure some of the quality, some of the values that we had before. So it's also very much about, you can have a lot of technical solutions about using new technology of producing different kind of products. But the most important, and we all know that, is that we should buy less, use less, buy much, much less. So I think the focus on buying less is maybe the most important factor in all the factors to make fashion more sustainable in the future. If you take the next one, please. I have shown you, I have this one. This is a picture from our AV20 campaign. For me, it's what I try to do in this kind of campaign. For me, it's really, it's a solitude. It's something really far away and something very calm about the picture, but also something a bit futuristic with the iron things in the back, some kind of electric kind of thing. And the next picture as well. Is also, it's like the visuals are our business card to the world. If you show me the next one, even from day one, when we didn't have a penny to use for anything, the only thing we have been spending money on is our campaigns, to have good photographers, to have good models, because it is really the business card to the world. We cannot be in Paris having champagne with the influencers all the time. So what people see is the visual. So they have to be our language. They have to be. This is how we present ourselves. It's with the visuals. So we always have put a lot of effort into making good visuals. This is the one from last year. It's a upcoming model from Sweden. Selander, she's called, and the photographer is actually, she's Swedish as well, but with base in New York, Carolina Palmgren. And now we are like planning the AV21 campaign, and we're gonna do it in like 2 or 3 weeks. So that's gonna be very interesting as well. If you just take the next one. When you're a very small brand, and when I talk to design students and people like very early in the process of being in fashion, I always find it very important to give people the idea that even you're small, you can be a game changer. Even you're small, you can do it your own way. Remember, there's not like a recipe of how to come from A to B. There can be a lot of different ways to do it. In our case, I started with a completely different career. I studied political science. I worked a lot with European Union projects in Eastern Europe and in the Middle East, and now I find being a founder of a fashion company being the most natural thing in the world for me. If you just take the next one, we'll see here. Because along the way, especially when you're a small designer, when you're from a small place like this, we were the first fashion company on the Faroe Islands to be based on the Faroe Islands. So you can see it as a problem, or you can see it as an opportunity. It's a choice, and just to know, it's a choice how you do it. In 2008, we launched our first web shop, and I was calling the tax authorities on the Faroe Islands, like, how should we do this? We're going to start this web shop. I don't know, we said. Instead, but who could help us? Nobody knows. And then you just have to start doing something. And being like the first one is also really interesting, because you have to find your own way to do things. At that time, also when you talked about it was very new to have a web shop, and everybody they were all like claiming that you could have the order the day after you ordered, and we knew this was not a way for us, because in the first place it was really expensive to ship from the Faroe Islands, so we had to make some bulk orders. We could not send one order from the Faroe Islands. And also very often when you order a dress like you can see here on the picture, probably there is no dress. There is some yarn and there are some needles, and we have some women. And we will ask a lady, we have an order from Moscow this morning. Could you make this dress for her? And then the dress will be made for the lady in Moscow. So we also had to explain, we are not going to send things right away. So this is also to see it as an opportunity. Okay, we are going to tell people why it is this way, instead of saying, okay, we cannot make a web shop because it's too expensive to send day by day, and we might spend 3 weeks to produce the dress. But if you communicate, if you tell people why, if you're transparent, if you are honest, saying, now this morning we gave the yarn to the knitter, and then you will also have the opportunity, if you know you have a bit long arms, so maybe you can have some extra length on the sleeve, and then suddenly it's customized, suddenly it's something special. And trying to see this to turn the problem into an opportunity, and daring to be different. If you take the next one, I'm just going to tell a little bit more, because in another slide I'll say innovate, don't imitate, because you are not Chanel, I said, because you will have to, for example, when we are doing fashion shows, we have done a lot of like different fashion shows, because if we are trying to do a fashion show that we have looked too much of what Chanel is doing in Palais Royal, you'll know that it will be like really a bad imitation. So try to do something different different. We have made a fashion show in the hangar of the airport of the Faroe Islands. We have made it on a bridge where you can only walk. You have to walk for an hour to go there. So trying to do something different instead of like getting close to some of the big ones, you can never get there. It's going to be a bad imitation of something else. Try to do something different. And that's really important point in this when you're starting out. If you're taking the next one here in the creative soul, somebody can say, how can you, yeah, that's the one. But just going back, no, the other way here, yeah, just start there. And we have, because talking about the designer, some people tell us, how can you even be a designer on the Faroe Islands? There's no fashion environment. There's like nothing. But maybe again, if there's something completely different, then if you are awake and if you are hungry, you can get the inspiration wherever you are. The other Gudrun is like born creative. She would be creative in a black box. If you put her in a black box, she would still create things. People that are born like that, they cannot help it. They are creating all the time, and also it's necessary to be awake. As Guðrun uses to say, how can you not get the inspiration when you have a new painting every time you walk from the office, walk from home to the office? Because looking in a Faroese sky in a winter morning, there will be a different painting of light every single morning. But of course, you will need to be awake and to see it. And I also think that the role of the ocean and the scarceness, it also does create something. We have a lot of, when you think of how many people we are on the Faroe Islands, there are a lot of creative people on the Faroe Islands. There are a lot of artists, there are a lot of painters, there are a lot of musicians. And the scarceness and also the isolation and the calmness, like you will have... there are not so many, there's not so much noise. It's like a lack of noise gives you the opportunity to reflect and to maybe to get a little bit deeper into yourself and deeper also just to see what's around you and find and scrape for some inspiration. Instead of if you're based in Paris, it will all be too much, and sometimes you cannot see the wood of bare trees because there is just too much impressions. If you take the next one, that was the Chanel one I was talking about before, and the next one again, and and go back once, and if you see here what I was talking about, if you see the landscape here, you can see there's like a kind of and probably in all those mountains you see there's not one single person. So again, the soul, the not the loneliness, but being the solitude is really important for what we do. If you go, next one. And for the future, what we are working on now, and next one again, because even if we have been working like sustainable for all those years, if we want to be heard and if we want to be considered a company that is really working actively with sustainability, we also have to invent new things to be part of what's happening right now. So we are in the process of respinning. We are doing a project with the spinnery on the Faroe Islands to be respinning some of the yarns, the leftover yarns we have, and also some of the leftover pieces, and to make new yarns. So we also can create our own yarns out of it. So that's a very, very interesting part. We are recreating. If we have made a style that proves not to sell that much, then we can recreate it. We can change it again and sell it as a new piece. That's also something we are working on at the moment. And then the reselling part. On the Faroe Islands, there is a very active kind of reselling platform, but we also would like to have the opportunity to offer the reselling to internationally. So we are gonna, next year, we are gonna set up a kind of a reselling platform on our workshop as well. So this is some of the things we are working on to become a real circular company. If you take the next one. The next one is the film, I think. So I have another film to give you the impression of how we work, and I would like to share it with you.
Always gonna be hopeful. That's all I am.
For the attention, and I would like to. So we should decide if you take a small round now, or we take the questions, or what we do first.
I think I will probably ask a few questions, and then we'll have this fantastic the studio and the shop. So you started saying that actually you started the brand. And scarcity, limitations were and are still the case. And so as designers, people need to learn to work within limitations, right? But I have a question which refers this topic of scarcity and limitation to our current situation. Because what happened during the lockdown, for example, quite a lot of people, including designers, they found themselves inside their homes, without any, extra sources, and had to rely on what they already have. So somehow we learned to live within limitations. So we learned to live on the basics. Do you think it's that positive effect of something we have gone through and are still going through, and how it can impact our future in terms of fashion, consumption, production?
Hopefully it will, but history has also learned us that we forget very, very easily. But now this period has been for such a long time. I'm completely sure that we are gonna travel less. We are gonna have more Zoom meetings, and hopefully we are also gonna buy less. Hopefully we have seen that you can have a satisfying life. You can have a good life without doing so much, buying so much. Maybe we can even reflecting a bit more about how you can use the things you have already. And in our company, for example, we have, even though we couldn't go anywhere, we digged further into our stock of yarns. We digged into how you can use the skins, and actually we had new projects developed, because creativity doesn't stop. Even though, as I said, creativity, Guðrun will be creative even though she's in a black box. So it also gave the opportunity to stop and to think a little bit deeper. It's like the reflection. The reflection is really important in this.
Mhm. And in general, how does the pandemic has affected the brand? Did you have to develop some new ways, new instruments?
Actually, in some ways, it has been good for us because, for example, even internationally, a lot of our wholesalers, retailers around the world, they had difficulties getting any goods that were supposed to be produced in China, maybe in the start of the year, and suddenly they didn't have any goods in the shops. And as we are really flexible, we knit everything, like a lot of it on the Faroe Islands. We could like deliver weekly. So, for example, a lot of the shops in Denmark, we are selling a lot to shops in Denmark in recreative areas where they have like in the seaside resorts and so on, and people, when they couldn't go abroad, when they maybe were in quarantine and so on, they went to their summer houses, and those areas with the summer houses, they were booming. The shops were booming. Of course, people are like in very small clusters, and we could produce and send like goods week per week to them. So actually, our income from the Danish shop has been expanding in this time, because we could still produce on the Faroe Islands and we could send it. And of course, like with everybody, with the online platform has been growing. We have not been as good as we hoped to because we're in a process of bettering some of the webshop solution. But yes, we have seen a difference there as well. But we found that it's really important to have different channels, to sell in different channels. We have the shop here on the Faroe Islands. That's really important for us. Of course, we had to in March we had to lock it down for some weeks. But we have been very lucky on the Faroe Islands. We have been in a very good situation most of the time. After March, we had 100 days without Corona, and then we had like a peak again in the start of August. But now we have been. I think we had like a week now without one single new. So we are really lucky. But we have the retail shop here on the Faroe Islands. We have the wholesale, we have the web shop, and we have like a tax-free section. So it's really important to have different kind of channels. So you're not like cut completely if one channel's not working. So that's one thing we have learned, how important it is to have different channels.
Mm-hmm. So flexibility is extremely important.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And just that question about your customers, you say that you sell quite a lot to Denmark, and I suppose to other Nordic countries. Do you have clients in Russia?
No, I was in Russia last year, and I had some very interesting talks to different partners. And there are 2 or 3 shops that I do expect to do some business with that had some. They had the same kind of mentality, actually. So we are still working with those. Like, I find that in those times you are not starting new things at the moment, and shops are not taking new brands in now. But I did see some extremely interesting possibilities, and also because you always, it's very easy when you have been in business for so long, you very easy can spot if people, if they do have the same kind of values, you can see it even when you see a shop, you can say, here we can fit in, because I also saw some of the beautiful stores that I would never knock on the door because the concept was not there. But there are a few that I really do believe in could be a good cooperation partner for us. And I really look forward to do more in that.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
Actually spoke quite a lot about inspiration.
Yeah.
Again, you said that Faroe Islands is a small place, yes, and you probably don't have so many impressions. You have to concentrate more on those little but extremely beautiful things. When we watched the video, I felt I was there, and I wish I could be there, because the place, looks fantastic. So why I'm asking this question about inspiration, because first it's interesting, of course, for designers, but also this event which we are having takes place in the frame of the fair, book fair, which is normally held in Krasnoyarsk, which is a Siberian city. We spoke about it, yes, because our plan was to actually, to bring you to Krasnoyarsk. So it's big city, but not as big as Moscow. And for those people and those young designers who live in Krasnoyarsk, what is your recipe when it comes to inspiration? Because it's a beautiful place. It's surrounded with some beautiful scenery. There is a fantastic river. So they've got so many things there. So what is your recipe, when it comes to designing and inspiration?
It's very often close your eyes instead of looking too much to Paris. Close your eyes. Close your eyes and try to find it inside you instead. And in the area you have, look at old tales, listen to elderly people, listen to the stories, listen to what people have to tell. And sometimes just switch everything off you have and just look and listen. And try to take in, try to observe what's around you. And very, very often, sometimes you don't see the most obvious. And that's also somehow where you say when sometimes people from abroad have to, or from elsewhere, do have to come to tell you what is really unique about the place you are in yourself. It's like when we started our brand, it took some years before we were well seen on the Faroe Islands. But when they saw articles in Vogue Italia and somewhere else, they said, maybe it's not that bad anyway. And also with like Faroese food and gourmet food and so on, we were, in the old times, we were a bit embarrassed of what kind of food we had. It's like, no, it's just Faroese food. It's nothing special. But now when gourmet people are coming from elsewhere, it's like, this is amazing. And how do you do this? And how do you do? So now we are treasuring our things more. So sometimes it's trying to see the value in what you have. And close your eyes and imagine from there. That's really important.
Thank you. You showed that video with the girl, who is walking around and then she finds that sweater. So first of all, I'm absolutely fascinated with the idea of the sweater, because I think it's an important garment. It's so iconic. There is so much to it. And I think it's especially iconic and important for such places as Faroe Islands, with its climate, with its nature, which is wild, which is, requires stamina. How is this idea of nature important for the brand? And, this woolen sweaters and dresses. So is what is behind? How do you see it yourself?
There would be no Guðrun without the Faroe Islands. There's no doubt about that. And the old knitting traditions have been very, very strong on the Faroe Islands. Like the first thing we even exported from the Faroe Islands were hand-knitted goods, hand-knitted sweaters. And there's an old saying that wool is the Faroese gold. So it has always been very, very important to us. And going all the way back to the seaman, it was like the Gore-Tex of all times, because the sheep on the Faroe Islands, because they live in the mountains all year round, they have developed this very water-resistant wool. So it holds a lot of lanolin. So it is like more or less waterproof. And there are beautiful old tales also about the patterns. And when the men went to sea in the late 1800s, they left in the spring and they only came back in the autumn. And there was no connection between home and the ships. And of course, there was no communication. And every year they knew that the sea was going to take their part of the man. And then when the sloops, when the ships came back, the women could only stand on the shore and look if they found their man on the deck. And the saying goes that there were special patterns for each family and for each village, so they could even see on the pattern of the sweaters if their men were on board.
Like tartan in Scotland. Yeah. Fantastic, beautiful story. And I have a question about the wool, because it's so interesting that the sheep produce this specific kind of wool. But how does it feel on your body? Is it itchy? Is it soft?
It is itchy. It is, yeah. The Faroese wool is, a nice word is that it's dry. It's a dry wool, but actually it's itchy as well. Because they have this outer layer that's really that is really itchy and that is protecting from the wool. There is also an inner wool that is softer, and in old times people were better of using that, but it's very, very time consuming to separate the wool, so you'll have the inner part as well. There's a project now, like a very interesting project with a micro spinnery is starting on the Faroe Islands, where they will work more with some very old techniques of getting the softer wool from the inside, from the inner wool. So it is possible to get partly the soft wool also, but as it is now, it's not really available.
Mm-hmm. You spoke about the transparency and how it is important for the brand. And actually the topic of this event, which we are holding these 2 days, is new ethics. So we talk about transparency, we talk about sustainability, which has become, a household word, very often is used and misused. But how do you build this healthy system? So do you produce locally only? Do you work with local producers only? Or do you have anything produced elsewhere? So could you just comment a little bit on this?
It's like transparency is not about being perfect. It's also to admit that you're not perfect, that you're trying to do the best you can. We are using decency. Try to be decent. Try to do whatever you can. For example, we are not producing everything on the Faroe Islands. But when we produce elsewhere, we have a women's project in Jordan and one in Peru. The women's project in Jordan is a beautiful, beautiful project where women that cannot take normal jobs because of their family role, they have the opportunity to work for us, because we believe that women empowerment all starts with the opportunity to earn your own money. And so we can support some women, and we know that the money they earn from us, they are paying the university fees for their kids. We have stories about Syrian refugees coming to Amman, and they were able to give birth in a hospital because they had money from knitting for us. So it's like very direct. It's very, very direct where the money can go to. And when we produce in Peru, the reason for us to produce in Peru also, because as we talked about the itchy Faroese yarn, for example, this is the star pattern from the famous sweater from The Killing, for example. We make this in the Faroese wool, but a lot of people find it too itchy, so we also make it in an alpaca version. So instead of buying alpaca from Italy, where Italy has bought the raw material from Peru very cheaply, they are like making the money on the yarn. Then we would like to go back, use the yarn where it comes from, so the money stay in Peru. And we also make the Peruvians make the sweaters from their alpaca and buy it from them. So we also have this women's project in Peru. In the south of Lima, we have a group of women. There's one street with a lot of women in the same street knitting for us, and we come visiting them. It's like amazing. We come and they serve food for us, and they say, no, they're here, and all the people will gather, and and they will tell us about what difference it makes to get some to get an income from us. They are like very often building the house like wall by wall, so they can tell us this wall was made by the income from last year, and just like a humble dream of 4 years and you can have 4 walls and a new house. That's the difference you can make. Again, like making the small difference. Every one of us could make the small difference. When we talk about plastic, for example, we try to use as little plastic as we can. All the goods we get is without plastic. So instead of having like every piece in a poly bag, we just separate the sizes by a piece of paper in layers. For example, sometimes we bundle it with like a piece of band around, like, so you can divide the sizes. But then, for example, in Jordan, because it's very humid in Jordan, so once we got a box from Jordan without any plastic in it, everything was we felt it. It was felted because of the humidity and the motion in transport, and it was destroyed. Then I said, well, when we get goods from Jordan, we need to have 1 plastic bag, not poly bag for each of them, but 1 plastic bag to cover the box. So sometimes you also like, and that's what transparency is about in my case. We can explain why we use 1 plastic bag here, for example. We are also using plastic. I'm gonna show you. I'm going to show you a piece. When we are sending our web orders, we are vacuum packing them. Yes, in plastic. But when we are flying the goods around the world, it's very much about volume. It's very much about flying air. So trying to make it more compact. So when we send a web package, it's like that. This is the package you get.
Yeah, you get things like, hey, they made a mistake. It's not mine because it's small.
So you see how flat it is. It can be, and it would be. So maybe it's 1/10 of the volume it had before. So this is the reason we use plastic for this. We know plastic is not good, but this is better than using too much space. So what we are working on now is to try to see how if we can get like different plastics bags that are more sustainable. So this is like what transparency is about, trying to do the best you can with every single thing you're working with.
And actually just think and give a good think about everything you do. Because what you mentioned, like, yes, you seem to have thought about all those processes, deeply. I have one more question, which is more about organization of the brand. You are a duo. Yes, there are 2 of you, but you mentioned your career before you joined the brand, before you actually started it together. So do you have any distribution of, let's say, responsibilities in between you? And what do you think about this combination of creative director, yes, and more finance and public communication person? How productive it could be?
I think it's really important too, because we have seen often if there are 2 designers starting a company, it can be very difficult to have like the balance and the balance of power. Who's deciding? Who has the last word? But in our case, it has been very, very natural always. Like when we were talking about the creative part, Guðrun always has the last word. I can have some opinions, but I know that her decisions are very good decisions, design-wise. So I think it's really important to team up with the IT people, e-commerce people, or people that have different skills, so you can complement each other. That's very, very important, I find. And even though they don't really team up with them, you can also, just to make sure that somebody is there behind you to do the numbers. It's very, very important also from day one, because you can get really far in a wrong direction if you don't have somebody that can like control the numbers and advise you also of because if you're a creative person, you can go like for a quite long time in a wrong direction also, money wise and so on. So it's really important to have somebody to hold back, to hold your neck when you are when you're working.
Very clever model. Yes. These days we also talk about how storytelling is essential in fashion. And of course, different brands tell different stories. And we have partly discussed probably, the stories your brand tells. But if you had to say it in a few sentences, what is the story Guðrun is trying to tell the world?
I guess we are trying to tell that there can be, we are better than this. We can, everybody has inside of yourself. If we just like look a little bit deeper, we all know that we are spending too much, that we are using too much, we are working too much. I guess we are trying to tell people to slow down and to think a little bit more and to treasure what we have more. If you're talking about clothing, if you're talking about relations, if you're talking about environment, try to calm down a little bit, be a little bit more sensible about we can make a change, and every one of us can make this small change. Even us as a little company, when I talk about the Women Empowerment Project, we can do our little part. And as a consumer, I think that all the change we are going to see in the fashion industry is going to be consumer-based. It's only the consumer. If we are demanding better goods, we are getting better goods, because it's a very, very natural thing that you're producing what people are demanding.
Right. So today we have a fantastic opportunity to actually look around the studio. And before we do that, I'd like to thank you for this fantastic talk and the presentation, which we haven't finished yet because there is some other, things to come. But could you please show us around? I think this experience of participants and being there is something unique, and only Zoom, can allow us do this.
Around the studio here, we just moved into, we have a very small Gudrun house here. Before, the shop and the offices were in two different buildings, but we are really happy to be back. Even though it's small, we really enjoy to work where the shop is, and we have a little bit of stock here as well. So it might look a little bit strange, because when I walk around with the computer, I cannot see what the camera sees. So, but I'm gonna try to show you. So this is where we sit working. This is the small office we have here. We are gonna walk around a bit. Here you can see a lot of sweaters, a lot of hand knitted sweaters, I guess.
Yes.
Here we can say hello to Anne. Anne is packing a lot of web orders we are going to send later today. Here are some of the orders, and where are the boxes? Yeah, some more web orders to where are we? Web orders to be sent here. Now I'm going to go downstairs to the shop.
Okay.
So this is our shop.
Great. Okay.
See?
Is it the center of the city?
This is the center of the city. This is on the pedestrian street.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a beautiful floor. You can see it's like mint and rose. Mm-hmm. This is a beautiful. When I was talking, you remember I talked about the the lambskin project Gudrun was working on when in the Corona times. This is one of the coats. We are using a lot of the natural skins of the Faroe Islands. Very often the skins that only have like one small spot, they are not as sellable. So we are using all the not so sellable skins, and we have made some lambskins, and we have made some mattresses and chairs as well in lambskin. I'm going to show you. Here's some of the goods for babies.
For babies, right?
Have some of it here as well. Just a little this sweater for kids as well. And here we have something for kids as well.
Okay.
Here. And a lot of hand knit for women all the way here. Here's the chair I was mentioning.
Right.
See the chair?
Yes, we can see here.
You see the chair, and you see the mattress here with all the lambskin.
Right. Are they also on sale? Are they on sale?
Yeah, they are for sale. Everything is for sale. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and we can also see those iconic sweaters which Sarah Lund wore in the killing. Yes, we actually I first knew about them from an article we published in Fashion Theory a while ago about the detective.
Oh yeah. And we are gonna say hello to Bitla. Hi. This is Bitla. She's working. She's one of those girls that have been working for us for many years. I guess for the last 10 years or something, on and off when studying, and she's coming back, and she's in the shop now. Later today, we're gonna work on the. You remember I was talking about the new campaign we're gonna do, and Bitla's gonna help planning that with us. Now we are going to try to go upstairs to the to the top floor to see if we can find Gudrun.
Okay. Let's go through.
Yeah. So those are the mint stairs.
Beautiful. Nice color. All right.
Yeah. So this is some of the stock we have here. All the way using all the centimeters we have of space so we have made shelves all the way up so we can make as good use as we can. And here we have Guðrun and Guðrun working.
Hello. Hey.
Hi. Yes, Moscow's calling. And Krasnoyarsk as well. Yes, because this is something which we normally do in Krasnoyarsk in Siberia.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for inviting us inside. So it's an absolutely special feeling, as if we are there. So
Yeah.
Gudrun told us so much about the brand. I have a question actually. What I noticed are very bright colors. So it's not, this calm only palette, but a lot of bright colors, which I love in particular. So how are that important to you? Why is it? Is it a reaction to, I don't know, to some climate and you want, a bright spot, or what could you say about that?
I like to challenge with the bright colors in our natural colors, to find the balance and the dryness and the softness, and that the color is not taking over, to find the good balance in it. So I like to work with that.
Yeah, it looks so beautiful because
make it more modern in a fashion world as well. Even we come from such a small island like Faroe Island, that we can be in the fashion monopole. Yeah.
Yes, Gudrun showed us some of the campaigns and the shooting featuring models, in those fantastic bright dresses, and it feels so futuristic. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that shiny colors shining through those very light thing.
Yeah, thank you. So just
Here you
great.
can see like a bit of her mood. You can see like the shelves where she's working with a lot of different materials.
I can show
and-
her when
yeah,
we were
You can see
in.
yeah.
It's mean a lot to me. We were in Damascus
Mhm.
visit our knitters, and then I found this.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's crochet in this color. So just to look at it, it gives me a lot of energy.
yes. Yeah, it looks so, shiny and sparkling.
Yeah.
So connecting with this one to find again the balance with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Oh,
A little bit.
So this is what you call a creative mess, right? A creative mess with all the things here. And here we have Guðrun. Guðrun is our expert knitter. She's right here.
yes.
She's right here with us. And of course she's making her kind of recipe. You see, nobody but Guðrun and Guðrun would understand it, but it doesn't matter because it's like a very special way of making recipes.
Right. Yes. Oh, we have this, peek inside the designer studio. So,
Okay.
and thank you. Goodbye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Okay, I will go back to my desk, and we can. And if you have some further questions, we can take it from here. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So just felt so special, to walk around, and as I said, it feels as if you are there. So this is
hopefully your audience didn't get really nauseous because I was like going up and down with the computer. So hopefully you're okay.
hopefully, yes, hopefully they are. I'm sure they are, because I think, yes, it's a unique chance. Well, it seems like we don't really have any questions from the audience, but I probably, yes, I'd like to ask one more question if it's okay with you.
Sure.
Because you mentioned, well, I'm interested in, let's say, what is called customer profile. So who are those people who are your loyals, who constantly buy from you? So can you describe?
It's on the Faroe Islands, of course, it's very, very broad. It's very broad. Because people in all ages, both genders, and we have kids, men and women. But if I should say it like the from abroad, if I should describe the consumer, it's like the conscious consumer. The conscious consumer that will care about the environment, that will care about each other, that will care about good quality, but still wants to be stylish, because it's really important to us that, because you can have some very some organic goods and so on, that they have like dull colors and dull kind of design just because it's made in a conscious way. But we want people to buy our clothes because they're beautiful, and then we just find it common sense that they're made in a good way. And I think that in the future also, it's just going to be a natural thing that you have to have those things in order with transparency and to produce in a decent way. So very much the conscious consumer that also wants to have something durable.
Mm-hmm. At some point, you mentioned that yes, we need to actually we need to learn to live with less things, consume less, and it's the consumer's part, and responsibility somehow. And in this respect, do you have any services in your brand which support clients who have already bought from you? For example, mending. What if something happens to my sweater or my dress? Can I theoretically bring it back so that, yes, something is done? Or what is the way to deal with it?
on the Faroe Islands, people know us so well. People will come in, and we will repair the goods. Sometimes from abroad they will send it as well. But the problem is, like, the tricky thing is the shipping costs. The shipping costs are really high. Sometimes we send like some yarn for people and try to tell them how they could repair something. So this is absolutely a way we are like thinking of as well, and assisting people in how they could repair, and also we repair quite a lot of things here. Yeah.
So you send instructions so that the people can do it themselves.
Yeah. And if it's too bad, they might decide to ship it to us to make. That's a possibility as well. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And well, it seems like, so what I know from my experience working with Nordic colleagues is that in those countries, and I guess on Faroe Islands, people are very experienced knitters themselves. So is it still the case, or not so many, not, both men or women, depends on age. So what could you say?
There is still a very strong knitting tradition on the Faroe Islands. When we started in 2000, it was very uncool to knit. It was very uncool to knit. People were like looking abroad. Everything from abroad was good. They wanted Gore-Tex, they wanted fleece, they didn't want the natural, they didn't want the Faroese. But the tide has changed completely. Now people are proud to be from the Faroe Islands, proud to be on the Faroe Islands, proud to eat our own food, to use our own things. So there's a big change of mentality. A lot of people are moving back, like exiled Faroese are moving back. So the population is growing a lot at the moment. And also in terms of knitting, now it's cool to knit again. So it has been, and I do think we do have quite a lot of the, it's a lot because of us. And also the reason why knitting around, like in a lot of different places, and also the Nordic look and the patterns and so on, I think also we have played a role in all that because of a lot of high street brands and so on. They have been like been very much inspired by our look and what we have been doing.
So you said that you turned 20 this year, or when?
Yeah, actually we met in 2000, but officially we started the company in 2002. So the big celebration is going to be in 22.
Nice. Okay. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And my last question was about what brands do these days. They often work with their heritage, yes, because you started with something. Yes, you mentioned the sweater. So how often do you still produce those garments you started with, or not really?
Yeah, for example, you saw the shelves with all the with all the star sweaters. They were presented on a fair for the first time in 2005. That was before the killing and everything. Yeah? So some of the classics we have been working with for many years. Some of the classics, or some pieces in a new collection become classics, and some of them are just like new collections coming in and out. But sometimes we really have to be strict with ourselves and say we cannot allow everything to be classics because it gets more and more and more. So we have to limit ourselves as well.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much for this talk. It's been amazing. And thank you so much for this opportunity to actually, to feel as if we are in your shop. And I'm looking forward to our meeting in offline reality at some point.
Yeah. I really hope so, and I really look forward to come back to Russia when everything will allow it. So I look forward to that.
Yes, let's hope it will happen. It will happen sooner than later. Thank you so much, Gudrun. And
thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.